Hello, this is Sarah Marisha White, and this is my new podcast, Our Bodies Will Be Dirt. Tune in to the mind of an artist, land steward, healing practitioner, and warrior for liberation as we talk about life, death, and the liberation of our bodies in between. Make a cup of tea, maybe make a little comfy space for yourself and come tap in with me. Hey, what's good? I'm coming back to check in, updates, and talk about a few things on my mind and heart. It's been a wild ride since the last podcast, and I'm coming here in pretty good spirits, actually. My mom passed away less than a week ago, on the 30th. And we're still in the process of saying goodbye tomorrow. We put her body to rest and into the earth. And wow, it's been such a journey. I don't think until you lose a parent, you understand how much it changes you. And also some tools and things that can show up to make it possible to keep going. So I don't come in a place of sorrow as much as, honestly, a place of inspiration. Because when I think about how much I'm going to miss my mom, it forces me to think about the things that made her so special. And I know that a lot of people have different styles of relationships and some no relationship with their mothers. So it hits different for everyone. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a parent, but someone who raised you, someone who was there for you always. That impact is, there's no words to not have that person to be able to call or to look forward to time with them again. And I learned a new term that I didn't know about before, anticipatory grief. And even when I heard it said, I thought, oh, I'm having some revelations here, because I've been slowly watching my mom die for 3 years and kind of being pushed through life without an understanding of how I'm able to show up in the world. And when I would tell people what I was feeling, they're like, kind of, at least you still have her. And I didn't know how to put to words the ways I had already lost her and how that was changing more each week for such a long period of time. And I was able to kind of write this poem to a group of people. I'll share more about them later, but I was able to kind of break down a little bit the beginning of understanding how first it was like she lost a bunch of her body weight. So she didn't look like herself anymore. And then she lost her vigor, her oomph for life. And that was a big part of who she was. Just a few years ago, she's like, let's go to the court, and she's throwing 3-pointers, and, she's always a busybody, always cooking up a storm, always cleaning everything. That was a part of who she was and who she is. And that disappeared. And another thing I had mentioned in that poem is she was really big on holidays, every holiday, every birthday. I even got Valentine's Day cards and Mother's Day cards from my own mother, and my daughters got them. Everybody got, a little package for everything, because she liked to celebrate that we had made it to another reason to celebrate. And it's almost like I didn't notice those things would happen more sporadically. And then she didn't have the energy to show up to like things like graduations or birthdays. And it just really wasn't like who she was. And then the changes started to happen more dramatically. Like she couldn't get up and down the stairs. Then she couldn't stand. Then she couldn't get out of bed at all. And then she had to get a catheter. And then she was on oxygen permanently. And then she no longer had the energy to eat or speak or open her eyes fully to gaze. And that was kind of the last version of my mom that I saw, laying in the same position and not eating or really being able to take anything to drink for like 5 days. And that really wasn't my mom anymore. So then I felt guilty because I wanted her to go. I'm like, I don't even want you to keep holding on anymore. What is it that you need? What doesn't feel complete, you know? And there's so much more to this. It's doing hospice for a dying parent is something that I'll never forget. I'll never be who I was before I did that. Let me tell you that. And really just so much love to the nurses and support system that hospice provides, because they made it as easy as possible for us to shift into the process of supporting her in death. And the day before she left her body, my brother and I both took her hands, him on her left side, me on her right, and just told her we were going to be okay and she could go. And we thanked her for the kind of wisdom she instilled in us and the life that she gave to us and just all the ways she showed up for us. And we left. And I'm not saying it lightly. It was so hard. So hard. And yeah, it just felt the worst. But she left the next afternoon. And I felt like she waited till I picked out the right dress. She waited till there was just quite a few things I had to do. I had been holding off on selling this camera because I have all these dreams of digital film stuff I want to do. And I have this camera that I knew I could liquidate to pay my rent because I'd been doing hospice care for a month and I was just behind in everything. And the camera wouldn't make enough for extra, but it would at least get me current. And so I kept going back and forth in my head, like, I really want to keep this, but then it's like, why am I trying to cling onto this? And while I went to sell it, as he was counting out the dollars, that's when she left. And it was interesting, those moments after I got the call. It's like my head was spinning and spinning and spinning, and I knew I needed to go to the bank and deposit the money and hold it together. And then once I got home, it was just, if you talk about waves of grief, it was such a high wave that I just went under it and stayed up there for a couple of days. And now I go in and out of it. And I'm sure it will continue for quite some time. I'm tasked with her celebration of life. So if you could imagine, it almost feels like one person planning a wedding or something. Trying to find vendors and just make sure it's the most beautiful celebration of life possible, because I really want to honor who she was and how she touched so many of us. But I also see that as kind of like a thing to do to keep me busy during this time of the first digestion of what has happened. because I know it will show up again on the holidays, heavy on the holidays, because she was the orchestrator of organizing all of us to get together, and on birthdays, and even just those moments where you want to hit up your mom and tell her something that you thought about her, ask a question. I've wanted to ask her for help with dealing with things that are coming up, and yeah, that kind of kicks in. But going back to anticipatory grief, when I was looking up a little bit about it, it's kind of an emotional and relational response to impending doom or dread. So you're worrying about when this thing happens, how it's going to feel, what you're going to do, And I think it would be helpful for other people to know about that, because there are things you can do to help yourself through that. I didn't know that before, so it's something I've just carried with me for the last few years, and definitely in this last year, and even more so in this last 6 months. I'm like literally just irritated with people in my life, because I'm like, I don't even know if you're really my friend. Like, can't you see I'm dying over here? And I'm on the other side of that now, where I still have some resentment about certain relationships where I see the role I played in it too. Like, sometimes you choose to stay places where where your wins aren't celebrated, right? But it is a choice. And sometimes you can show up as your full self with certain people, and they'll meet you like that. They'll meet you there. But oftentimes we're afraid to, because of what we think people think, or how we think people are going to respond. And I spoke about this a little bit before, but just the importance of finding your people and doing what you have to do to make those relationships work, because we need each other. And a really good friend of mine for, over 20, maybe 25 years. Our friendship hasn't always been like super close, like we talk every day, but we've known each other for a really long time, since high school. And she had hit me up and said, you should make a list of a group of people that you trust to show up for you in some type of way. And I was triggered. I'm like, there's nobody. Because let me remind you, I'm in, I think, week 2 of hospice care for my mom that I can tell is dying. And I feel like I'm going to die along with her. I feel like, how can I go on? And I don't feel like people in my life are responding in the ways I want them to, because they can't read my mind. But in that moment, I guess I wished more people could try and just show up without me asking. And so I was getting more and more bitter and isolated and disgruntled and hurting inside, sad, and kind of just pushing people away. And so when she asked me to write, collect a group, I'm like, nah. They're not going to do anything anyway. They don't care about me. That was my attitude. But a few days before my mom's health declined even more, I thought, ooh, I better make a list, because this feels like 10 weighted vests over me. Like, my legs feel so heavy, it's hard to get up the stairs, and I'm starting to feel the impact of this before it happens. So let me reach down and just think about who has tried to show up for me, even if not recently, like who's been someone who celebrates my wins. And I made a list, not really thinking it would really do that much to help, but at least knowing if those people were praying for me or thinking of me, that, through the cosmos, I'd have more strength. And so when I let her know my mom passed, she reached out to the group and they formed this sacred communication circle where, I haven't been in physical contact with them all, but I just know that they are thinking of me. And I was able to just send my grocery list to one person, the one who organized the list, and some of my desires to one person instead of having more messages, because I think the first day that you lose someone, depending on how far their network stretched or yours stretched, you're getting inundated with messages and people calling who never call you and haven't reached out in years. And I just felt flooded with grief, flooded with messages, flooded with sending care. And none of that was doing anything for me, but that circle was. That circle showed up with groceries and food and, little sweet little details that just held me up these last few days. And I'm just really grateful. And I'm not saying this just to put out there that I have the circle of support. I'm saying for you, we're all going to lose our parents at some point. And some of us go before them. But if not your parents, you might lose a child. You might lose a lover. Death is a part of life. We're all going to get there at some point. So maybe keep in mind this beautiful practice that I was blessed with, and find one person that you trust to hold that space for you. And maybe it's just one or two people that you can think of, that you care about, and that care about you, that could show up for you, because I didn't know how to ask for anything. I barely wanted to get out of bed. And we found a way to do it where I didn't have to have contact. People could put stuff on my porch. Because the last thing you want to do when you're experiencing that much grief is have to deal with people. I personally, at least for me, everybody's different, but I don't need people touching me and feeling sorry for me. As an empath and somebody who works with bodies, I don't want that kind of touch right now. And I just feel grateful that I was able to be fed and taken care of, even from a distance. Because I felt really, blown out of the water. I'm drowning and blown out of the water, if that makes sense. Just moaning and groaning and wailing. Anyway. So here we are. 6 days after my mother has left. Tomorrow, I'm bringing my daughters to bury my mom, and at the end of this month, we celebrate her. And even though it wasn't what we were hoping for or praying for, which that leads me to a lot of conversations I need to have with God, I still believe God is good. And that is unexpected for me to believe it truly after this. And it's almost funny the way that I feel, and this is my personal walk, that God is orchestrating things in my life. Because during my time waiting to see what's happening with my mother, I end up back on this path. And now I have a whole community at church that yesterday poured into me. I did not want to go. I had just seen her in the casket the day before. My hand shook the whole rest of the day, involuntary shaking, and I didn't want to go. And I reached out to a sweet, sweet, sweet friend now, who lost her mother last year. And I said, where could I sit where I wouldn't have to be touched by anybody or have to talk to a lot of people? And I got to sit by the pastor's mom in the front. She has her own little row, and she wrapped her arm around me and held me like a mom, though, like for most of the service. And I felt like I wanted to pull away, but you can't pull away from mom like that. It's just not right. You just can't. And Grace, singing on the stage, was singing something around the lines that he's in everything, like the shadows and the mountains. The highs and the lows, he's still there. And I was just like feeling like, oh, please, I don't want to hear this right now. I hope we can get to the next song. And then she, on the stage, starts singing it to me, looking me in the eye, and nodding her head. And I just felt like, okay, even in this, God is good. And it sunk in, like, oh, I actually believe this. This is crazy. Like, I actually believe that in my sorrow, in the most pain I've ever felt in my life, there's something here that's good. It's love, right? And it's truth. Death is a part of the truth of our short time here on earth. What a more reason to live. And there's a portion of the church where everybody gets up, because the mission of the church is we love God, we love his people. What's the other thing? Oh man, I'm so bad at like remembering details of these things. Basically, we love his people and make sure we do the same here on earth, right? I'll find it eventually. I'm going to have to tell you. I can't just leave you with that. But I'll finish my story and then I'll read it to you. There's a portion where you have to walk around and greet everybody and give people a hug. And I'm like, I am not doing that. And so I thought I could just hide in the chair, but people all came up to me where I'm sitting to hug me. And I was like, man, I wish people would stop. And slowly, though, that edge wall, that wishing people wouldn't perceive my grief, started to melt. And I started to kind of sit up straight again. I've been walking hunched over for weeks, just heavy. And I started to feel like, wow, this isn't going to break me, actually. It's going to make me more intentional and more potent in the ways that I work in this world. And I started to feel like, wow, I don't have to be strong. People can see me broken. And it started to feel powerful. My pain started to feel powerful. And then after church, there was going to be this free taco truck coming, and they broke down. They were late. And I was like, man, I just want to get out of line. And this, I don't know if she calls herself a death doula, but that's what I think of her as. She supports families around death. And she came up and said, I've been thinking about you and your mom all week. And I tried to say she left this week, but my voice kind of cracked. I was like, oh no, here it comes. I want to run. And I said, yeah, she's gone. And she held my hand. I guess I didn't know how bad I needed my hand held. It had been a while since, I had somebody hold my hand, and I couldn't run. and a brother from the church, really big, stocky brother, which feels so protective, came behind me and just rubbed my back. And I just felt loved. It was that simple. And they don't know me very well at all. I kind of preferred that. But just that small thing, honestly, shifted my mindset. I just felt lighter. And like, yeah, I'm going to break down and cry a lot. I'm an emotional person in general, but, I just lost my mommy, so I'm going to cry a lot. That's for sure. But I feel inspired. I feel inspired to find reasons to make joy and live and actually celebrate her. And I know there'll be tears. And honestly, I feel quite confused on where I go next with my life. Returning to some of the parts of my life that I already felt dead. Felt like, I don't know, past going nowhere. I feel even less interested in participating in many parts of society. And so that does make me question how I'm going to make bread. But I feel inspired to at least try. So, yeah, I just wanted to let everybody who was listening know that my mom has left this realm and I am sad and I will be okay. I'm trying to find this mission. I'm like on a mission to find the mission, but I don't know if I'll be able to. Let me see. This is always me. I say it every week. Okay, found it. We always say, welcome to Serenity Village Community Church, a place where we love God, we love his people, and we teach others to do the same. We say it every single week, and I always forget. I'm not good at memory these days, but yeah, we're always challenged to actually do that in the community. Not only people that believe in church, but with the ways we use our voice, with the ways we use our talents. Not only just for us, but to change and love the world. And this world clearly needs a lot of it. And that's kind of what made me fall in love with that place. It's a very community-based church. They give out free food Monday through Friday. I think from 1 to 2, anybody can just go get lunch. And yeah, they hand out food in an area where people don't have food and are living in tents, and many of them addicted to drugs every Saturday. It's just, oftentimes when I think of church, I think of like these places that people kind of enclose themselves in and practice religion. And I'm not really into that. I've never been into that. But if a place is actually by action, moving around with love and action, love and action by action. Anyway, I just really appreciate it. So I thank them for being there for me during this time, and also to my circle of delicious, artistic, and creative and dynamic humans that, I could never properly thank. But I will show up to be in their circle when their time comes, because as much as you don't want to look at it, because I sure didn't, it's going to happen to all of us at some point in time, where you lose someone so close and so special to you that you lose yourself, and you need someone else to be there to hold you up and to remind you. I haven't really opened up to the people that want to come clean my house yet. I really could use some help with that, but let me tell you, I'm the type to clean the house before the cleaner comes. And so I have some unlearning to do. But for now, just sending you peace and love. I'd love to talk to some other people about losing a parent. If anyone ever wants to come and talk with me for the podcast about that. And I also look forward to talking about stuff that doesn't have anything to do with death. So we'll get there soon. Until then, save your seeds. Check in on your people. Move your body. Do something that's on your list of things you want to do before you go. Doesn't really matter what other people think. Okay, peace. Love you.